and then go.
There we go. So good evening, everyone. Thank you all for attending tonight's hybrid community meeting. Please note that this meeting is now being recorded and will be shared on all of our outlets. At this time, John, you want to go ahead and give your emergency before we kick it off formally?
Sure. First of all, for those of you who are in the room, thanks for coming. Thank you to City Church for hosting this meeting for us at the last minute. As everybody knows, we typically have all of our meetings over at St. John Canton Church, but due to the death of Pope Benedict, they're having services and special activities over there. So thank you, everybody, for allowing us to pivot over to City Church here. And again, thank you, City Church, for hosting us. Another thing is this, is that for those people who are in the room, in case of an emergency, I just ask that you would just leave all your things right here and go out the way that you came in. If for some reason that door is blocked or whatever else, you just go continue right straight through. There's two black doors, one on the left and one on the right. The one on the right is for the bathroom. That's where you go to the bathroom. The one on the left will take you out another way. All right. So also too, in case of a medical emergency, Bernie, all right, very good. Sam, if something happens to Bert, yeah, there we go. So we're covered. So again, you guys, thank you very much for coming. And I'm going to throw it back to you, Carla. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. So good evening, everyone. Thank you all for your time and attendance at tonight's meeting. We sincerely hope that everyone had a peaceful and healthy holiday season. As you know, as was mentioned earlier, tonight's meeting is being recorded for note-taking purposes and will be posted on all of our outlets. Please make sure to sign up for our newsletter. You can go to wcachicago.org to sign up to stay informed about not only any updates on tonight's proposals, but as well as any other happenings in the area. I'm Carla Agustinelli, the Director of Community Partnerships and Development for West Central Association. West Central Association is the official chamber of commerce for the Near West Side, a delegate agency for the City of Chicago for both the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection and the Department of Planning and Development, since we serve as the service provider for the Greektown Special Service Area. Our West Central Association team provides our members with customized guidance in permitting and licensure, both through application and compliance, marketing, community engagement, etc. Most recently, we have been assigned the responsibility of hosting all community meetings regarding zoning changes, proposed developments for Alderman Burnett. If you have attended any of these meetings over the years, you understand that the feedback obtained is critical in the urban landscape of the community and the city. Not only are we reviewing land use, encouraging responsible, tactical urban design, but as a collective, we assist in negotiating community benefits. Understanding our role and commitment to transparency, West Central Association is in the process of establishing a development dashboard, a very simple tool which will help track proposed projects from inception to permit issuance, or perhaps non-support of a proposal in some instances. We believe that this tool can play a significant role in the future of our community. Housekeeping rules for tonight and all other future meetings. Super simple. Please keep questions relevant to tonight's proposed development at hand. If the question is related to a larger scale or needs more extensive response time, we will pin the conversation and get back to you at a later time. Also, in the event that comments or questions or comments are disrespectful or demonstrative of any hate or slander, we will remove and dismiss the comments. There's zero tolerance. We want to be respectful of everyone's time and well-being. Please post your questions and comments in the Q&A box if you are online. They will be addressed after the presentation. And with that, I'll introduce Armando Chacon, President of the West Central Association Board of Directors.
Thank you, Carla. Good evening, everybody. I'm Armando Chacon, President of the West Central Association. I think Carla hit on just about everything we needed to hit on there as we kind of set the table for this meeting. I'll be introducing the alderman shortly. I did have just a few points, quick points to make before I hand it over to the alderman. First off, we are, we have set this meeting and collaborating with the neighbors of River West. That is, at the request of Alderman Burnett. Yes, this property is in the Fulton Market District and within the West Loop boundaries. But in this area, in the past, the Alderman has suggested that we collaborate with neighbors of River West, which I think is great. We need to be doing more of this. Neighbors of River West are our neighbors, and we are looking forward to continuing to work together. Certainly, Sam and I have known each other for a long time, and had nothing but a good working experience with him, and John, I could say the same. So just wanted to note that. We are, as Carla mentioned, we are working on a dashboard in an effort to be more transparent. I'm really excited about this because we are taking our role very serious. It's more than just hosting the community meetings. We want to just have a platform where everybody has information, gets information, and is able to give us feedback. So stay tuned for that. We'll also be having a place where all these meetings will be, you'll be able to tap a link and go into the recordings of these meetings. So again, that's consistent with our efforts to really become more transparent and accessible to our community. I did want to thank Bennett Day School for sending us their thoughts and concerns, not just on this project, maybe on a couple others. And I would just say that we welcome. We've said this for years, that we want feedback from everybody, but certainly the adjacent property owners. They've really answered that call, and we encourage others to do that. Certainly you can do that here during this meeting and well after. When no decision is being made, as far as I can tell, right away. So, we welcome as much feedback as possible. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce the 27th Ward Alderman, Alderman Walter Burnett. Alderman, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Armando. First of all, we want to give honor to God. Thank him for the opportunity to be here. Happy New Year's, everyone. We're very blessed to have a robust community where a lot of things are happening. It's one of the hottest areas in the country right now. When everyone else was closed down, this area was still moving. So we're very blessed that a lot of things are happening in our community. And there's a lot of other things on the map. As you all know, with these two organizations, I've been working with both of them for almost 28 years. And with both of these organizations, I've been taking their lead on a lot of things in reference to the zoning that goes on in the community. Just about every zoning change in the River West area, the River West Association has been involved, and a lot of the things over in the West Loop area. West Central has been involved along with the West Loop Gate, and I wouldn't say everything. Now is a little newer, but since now has been in existence, they have been involved also. So how we deal with zoning, we encourage every developer to go before these community organizations. And what happens at these community organizations, they look at their project, give them their input, and probably, after they see me, they go to the community organization. So usually I don't see the actual plan because it changes after that because the community organizations encourage them to do some changes, but also the Department of Planning does also, depending on how big the project is. And I don't know if this one had to go through the design. It didn't have to go through the design thing, but planning scrutinized it also. We try to work together on it and see how it fits with the city policies that they have, and then we bring it to the community. So what you all are getting ready to see is we're probably going to see this development in this state as it is right now, together for the first time. So we have these community meetings because everyone may not be a member of the community organizations. So we want to make sure that people that live in the area, that own property in the area, have an opportunity to give some input also. This is a planned development, if I'm not mistaken. So with a planned development, two things happen. One, it will have to go to the planning commission. Planning commission sent out a notice within 250 feet to tell you about the plan commission. Then it has to go to zoning, and zoning does the same thing. So I happen to be a commissioner on the plan commission, which I don't have a vote on if it's in my ward, but also I'm on the zoning committee also, which I do have a vote on. So we like to take all of the comments and concerns that the community have. If we can get the developer to work with them on it, and then if we get approval here at this meeting, then we like to say at both of those bodies, we like to say we had a community meeting, they met with the community organizations, and the people support it. So with that, I'm going to allow the developer and their crew to take the show away. Thank you very much. Also, I would be remiss if I did not mention, we do not make decisions based on views, right? And I say that because being in this area for over 28 years, just about everything that was built in this area, in both areas, pretty much blocks someone's view. So I just want to say that. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Jenke-Dale from the law firm of DLA Piper. I represent the developer for this matter, who I'm going to have come up in just a minute after a brief overview from me to introduce herself. But she's Joy Jordan with Fortin Valentis. We also have joining us tonight Matt Wiley in the room, and he's the architect of record locally. Brian Court from Miller Hole is also on the line remote. He's teaming up with ESA on this project from the design standpoint. And then finally, last but certainly not least, our traffic consultant, Louis Abuna, is on. As the Alderman mentioned, we are pursuing a plan development for this project. The technical request is a DX7 underlying with a 4.5 FAR bonus. I think I saw early on a question from Moshe about that bonus and how much it is and what's intended for it. The amount is about $2.4 million. Of that, 10% of it will stay within a mile of the project. But for anyone who's worked on a project with me before, I will be the first to say we don't see that as our money. We see that as the community's money. And, we're happy to work with the aldermen in the community on where that goes. So I go ahead and address that question, Q&A during the intro, just covering some of the technical items. But finally, just want to thank Carla, Armando, Sam, John, WCA, Neighbors River West for pulling this together. It's my first hybrid one of these. I think so far so good. But we had to pivot last minute on the location. Appreciate people being flexible and nimble and really pulling together the alternate location at the last minute. So that was, like I said, with that, Joy will come up, give a very brief introduction to herself. This is her first project in the neighborhood, and then Matt will run through the plans, which we'll pull up and share the screen as soon as he gets started. Joy.
Thanks, Katie. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Excited to present this project to some for the first time since the last time we met. So we thought maybe to just give a brief little background on myself, since obviously it's the first project for Fortin Valentis here in this neighborhood. So just my past background, I've been in the office market. Previously, I was at Sterling Bay. I oversaw their entire office portfolio. So very familiar with some of these projects. Matt Wiley at ESA and I worked together prior to me leaving Sterling Bay on 345 North Morgan. I worked on 360 North Green, 333 North Green. So very familiar with the neighborhood. I also live in River West at Kinsey Park along with my family. So very familiar with the streets and any concerns you might have. This project is, I think, a very special project, not only because of what it stands for, but also the team around this specific asset. And so we've basically paired some of the best top architects, I would say, locally here in Chicago, but also from out of state. And so like I mentioned earlier, Eckenhoff Saunders, Matt Wiley, who's a principal here, who just completed 345 North Morgan, which was beyond a success, I would say, for a speculative office building. And then we also have Miller Hall out of Seattle. Miller Hall basically, focuses on low carbon projects, energy efficient projects. They worked on the Seattle headquarters for Apple, which was also a magnificent just home run for them with a speculative office project for under 1 million square feet. And so with them, we've created a very strong team. On the construction side, I have Howard Blair. Him and I used to work together. We used to sit next to each other at Sterling Bay. And Howard, who's a veteran in the business, he's been around for 38 plus years, is going to be overseeing all aspects of the construction. And so we're very happy and proud to have him as part of the team. And with that, I just wanted to mention just a few things about this asset prior to Matt starting the presentation. This project, not only is it targeted to achieve sustainability features that have not been achieved yet in Fulton Market, but it's really looking at, I would say, the future for development, the built environment, looking at innovation in that space, and really looking at the technology in order for us to fight climate change. And climate change is obviously not only just for the built environment, but it's also for the community, and really creating an asset that also is respectful in terms of what it is creating in terms of green space, green initiatives, and so forth for everyone around it. So I'm very proud of this asset, and we look forward to hearing your comments and concerns as we go through the presentation. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. Matt Wiley with Eckenhoff Saunders Architects. I'm happy to be a part of this team and be able to share this with you tonight. So with that, I'm going to share the screen. Okay. Can everybody virtually see the screen?
Yes, thank you. It works.
Okay. Thanks again to Joy for inviting us to this illustrious team to participate in this important work. The first slide in the presentation here really shows a context that you're more familiar with than I am even. Our site is shown in red, and surrounding it, you get a chance to see the sort of services that are in the area and its location in general. We're located between the elevated railway immediately north of our site and north of the at-grade rail line that runs through West Loop and Fulton Market. We're immediately west of the Recess Project and immediately east of Morgan Manufacturing. This slide is essentially the same. However, it really focuses in on the connection of this site to the surrounding transport infrastructure. The dark blue lines that go across the screen, those are the elevated rail line and the at-grade rail line. But this diagram is meant to show that our site is located very close to the Morgan stop, which services the pink and the green line in the CTA, and in blue, very close to the Grand and Milwaukee stop. So in addition to that, we're very proximate to bus lines along Grand, along Halsted, and along Milwaukee. So the site is incredibly well served from a transit standpoint, and we're fortunate in that regard. These next couple of slides really show the site highlighted here in red in a three-dimensional context. To the left, you see the image of 360 North Green. Oh, thanks. 360 North Green, currently under construction, immediately north of the at-grade train line. In the image to the right, you're looking straight down on the site. The site has an interesting L-shaped configuration, a little narrower along Kinsey, a little wider in the back along the elevated rail line. And it's served by two alleyways, one that runs east-west, shown up and down here from Peoria, and dead ends into the site. That portion of the alley has been vacated across the site. And then also by an alley that runs north-south underneath the elevated railway and daylights at Hubbard Street. It makes for a very interesting property. In the image off to the left, you kind of see it in a bird's eye view and three-dimensionally. For those familiar with the area, the south portion that fronts Kinsey is actually down at that alley elevation. So as you're walking along the street, you actually are able to look down and into that portion of the property. In the middle of the block, right where the site changes from a narrow site to a wider site, is 415 North Sangamon. That building has been identified by the city as a building of character. And so our planning is being done in concert with preserving that character. And then way off to the north, there's a small little building, 417 North Sangamon, not designated as a character building, but worthy of noting. Off to the right-hand side, a view of the site from the southwest, from 345 North Morgan, across the train lines and across the currently being developed Guinness property. These four images show the context on Sangamon Street. In the upper left, probably the best view of the facade of this character building and the small 417 building adjacent. In the upper right, you're looking north on Sangamon toward the elevated train line. What you don't really see in this view is that that is a sloping frontage, and that's important in our planning here. It slopes about 5 feet from the Sangamon and Kinsey corner to the north edge of our property. That sort of unique sloping is a little bit easier to see on Kinsey because that street is also a sloped one, making the intersection of Kinsey and Sangamon fully elevated. You can kind of see in this upper right view here, the slope a bit more, and you can certainly see the Kinsey slope as it heads off to the east. The view in the lower right is from the metro tracks, and you can see the sort of embankment that's required to support that elevated intersection. So these next two slides show our building shown in magenta relative to the other development in the area. Yellow is projects that are being proposed. The blue are projects that are under construction. Green are projects that are approved, not yet under construction. And our building is the magenta building. So these views are from the south. And these views from the north. You see the elevated train line in the foreground of both of these images. This slide shows basic zoning and has some facts relative to the building. The building that we're proposing is a 17-story building, approximately 260 feet in height, with 17 occupied floors. That height is measured from the alley elevation, not the street elevation. So our level 1 is at alley elevation. Our level 2 is actually the main entry elevation. That's the street elevation. The building as proposed is about 279 gross square feet. The image to the right is a clip of the zoning map that shows the current M2-3 zoning and the zoning districts that are surrounding our property. These two plans show the two street elevations that we have. Off to the left is our level 1. Relative to the street, it's a lower level. It's actually at the alley elevation. And the functions on this floor are entirely back of house mechanical. Our loading dock is at this elevation off of the alley. And then we've got a parking structure at the south end of this floor. The image off to the right shows the street level 2. In the middle of this plan is the entrance for the office function. The building is entirely office, aside from ground level retail. The office entry is right here mid-block along Sangamon. In white are the building's core, its elevator system, our bike and scooter storage space, office of the building, etc. And then both north along the elevated train line and south, we have retail space with access from the street. In the southwest corner, or wrapping the southwest corner, the enclosed space is pushed well back from the property line, which is out here, and creates an arcade, a retail arcade that wraps that southwest corner. So let's zoom in on that and take a closer look. Off to the left is the plan of that area. At the top here is the actual entrance into the office lobby. But along Sangamon and along Kinsey is an arcade with access to ground level retail space that we imagine as an extension of what are fairly narrow sidewalk rights of way. So at this corner where the Kinsey and Sangamon entrance is, we're expanding the right of way visually and inviting people onto the property. You can see off to the right-hand side some precedent images put together by our landscape design firm, Omni Workshop, that show what we're imagining here. Because as the roads slope both to the north and to the east, our main level gets higher and higher relative to the sidewalk. So you can see that by the time you get all the way to our east property line, it takes a small flight of stairs to get up to that level. And the same thing as you go along Sangamon, right back by the office entry. This will be very evident in the renderings that we're about to show. But we're going to start at the top of the building, as Joy opened with. The building's driving force is to be a highly sustainable demonstration project here in this rapidly developing area. The primary design feature of the building is a photovoltaic array that we're going to use to gather energy to power the building. And you can see it in this view of the top of the building here on the south facade, and then bending and wrapping and becoming a cover at the roof level. If we go from the top and drop straight down to the Kinsey and Sangamon entrance, you can see that photovoltaic array. You get a very clear sense of how this retail arcade is expanding the public realm, the public sidewalk area, and invites people onto or into that space underneath cover to shop or rest and take in the view of Fulton Market to the south or views back to the city to the east. This is a head-on view from the south, looking at the building's south facade. This is probably the slide where you get the best view of the impact of the sloping Kinsey frontage and how the landscape solution that we're proposing allows for a nice permeable boundary between the public sidewalk and the retail arcade up here at this main level. The other thing that's interesting here is you get a good look at the photovoltaic array, and you'll notice that not all the panels are straight flat. That as you move toward the center of the facade, those panels become more and more and more tilted. And that does a couple of things. One, it's providing better access to the sun as an energy source, but it's also creating the opportunity for people on the street to see tenants who have popped out of their office onto a balcony. And so there's this conversation that's going on between pedestrians on the street and tenants in the building through this membrane, which is the photovoltaic array. Here's a view looking west on Kinsey from kind of the corner of the site. And you can see that it takes several stairs here at this end, but by the time you get up to the corner, that height difference goes away. Nice bright landscape and really a great opportunity from here to look across Fulton Market and the West Loop. Now we're up on that retail arcade at the east end looking westward. Hopefully we have some retail tenants in the final development that may want to be a food service spot or a coffee spot. That's what we've illustrated here in this rendering. But if not, just a comfortable place for people to come on and have a seat. We're standing across Sangamon here, looking east down that same Kinsey retail arcade. You get a good sense of how this arcade really expands the sidewalk at grade. We've got bicycle parking on the street, both at this southern end and at the northern end of Sangamon. This view, we're standing actually at the office entry looking south, back toward Fulton Market. Again, a nice broad arcade, retail access on the left-hand side, and then these tumbling stairs out onto Sangamon. We're looking sort of at the elevational view of Sangamon at the base. As I mentioned earlier, there is a character building, and in this rendering, that building is here in the darker brick, and the mid-tone brick either side of it, that's new, all new. The character building in its current state as a part of our development, and because we're pursuing a high level of sustainability, that building as it stands will be dismantled as a part of the construction process. Its pieces cataloged, and it'll be reassembled after we've installed the building superstructure and some geothermal wells that we intend to drill underneath the entire site to provide additional heating and cooling for the building. So what you're seeing here is a reconstructed facade of the character building. We've used the qualities on it that provided its character and extended them into the architectural design of the adjacent pieces. And this is our last image, basically showing the same thing. One of the planning principles in the West Loop is to make sure that buildings of any height are setting back and preserving a pedestrian scale at the streetscape. And that's really what these elements are providing. But you can see in this view how the building is stepping back and set back from the property line to really highlight or feature not only the character building, but the base of the building and its pedestrian scale. And that is our last slide. So with that, we will entertain questions.
Great. There is one question currently online, which is your building will occupy a vacant lot to the south, which used to host bonfires, concert, and other adult-friendly events, the type of events outside what the Park District would offer. Will the alderman consider using some of the local impact funds to activate other vacant lots in his ward for similar community uses as supported by section 4.2.2 of the West Loop Design Guidelines?
We don't have any public, if there's any public land there, sure.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. If there are any other questions online, if you'd like to type them in the Q&A box or raise your hand to be unmuted.
We have one in the room, Carla.
Okay.
Parking is at level 1 with access from the alley. 20 spaces. Oh, I'm sorry. The question was, where is the parking located and how many spaces? There are 20 spaces located in a garage at level 1, and level 1 is below street level and at alley level. Yep.
On that same line, I think there's current street parking directly in front of any of that.
The question is, will there be any street parking lost along Sangamon or along Kinsey as a result of the project? The answer to that is no, we're not anticipating that go away. Before I go on to the next one, we've submitted our material to CDOT, the Chicago Department of Transportation. I'm imagining they'll have something to say about that. We haven't received comment back from that. Yes. How many employees do you expect in the building? I'm not sure we've got a way. I know I don't have a way. There'll be more than 20 employees in the building. Yes, that I can answer. Yes.
You said there's 279,000 square feet.
Gross, applicable to FAR, it's more like 265,000. Yes.
265, right?
265 that we count toward the floor area ratio, which is the bulk of the building.
That would be rent, right?
It's not direct corollary to what's rentable.
What's rent?
We haven't calculated that at this point.
Say this 250, you get 500 square foot per person. I think it's low. They're like 500 people. You got 20 markets.
Yeah,
Can we go back?
sure, yeah. Let's do this.
Can you go back to that slide? So the question was about how many employees versus the amount of parking in the building. We added this slide that we didn't have before about the transit served location here. I think that you hear it a lot. Like, if you build more parking, you'll get more cars. If you build less so I know there's different views on this. We are more than, so every single bus corridor that is highlighted here qualifies, and we're less than a third of the city's distance away from those. We're also within the distance. So the city's current distance under the recently adopted TOD is 2,640 feet. At furthest, we're 1,279 feet from Morgan and even closer to Grand. So to say this site is transit TOD is like an understatement. This is a very, very transit rich location. We've worked really closely with DPD, who, like I said, recently updated that ordinance such that we could reduce the parking to 0. We're not doing that, but we don't anticipate needing more than the 20 spaces in order to lease this building. We don't think, I understand that there are concerns about the street parking in the area. Most of it, we did a survey following our smaller meeting, just to make sure that, almost every street is residential parking zoned north of here already. We looked just to see if we would need to work with the Alderman's office, maybe to try to implement that more broadly, but we didn't find any. We tried to find an opportunity to help with in that regard, and seems as though every street kind of in the immediate proximity already has residential parking zone. So I totally understand reasonable minds can disagree when it comes to parking. They often do, but from a market standpoint, as well as a transit served location standpoint, I think we're very comfortable with what we're proposing.
20 spots for 500 people. I don't think that many people are going to take advantage.
Yeah.
You can see it now. I mean, look downtown, we're spending on the parking. Right?
Yeah.
Nobody's taking advantage.
I will say, I personally work in an office building that is how much? 4 times? How big is mine? With 100 parking spaces and arguably less transit served than this. It works.
Two parking garages. So
Yeah.
no parking garages.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I think it's
Oh, Carla, were you raising your hand?
Hi, Katie. Yes, I think we have another question that's kind of in the same ballpark, but it'll help advance the dialogue. Will this be built as a spec project, or will the developer wait to begin work until an anchor tenant is secured? And in those conversations, will there be conversations regarding, any parking guarantees for employees for that building?
Yeah, obviously, if anyone knows any tenants who are interested, we'd love a tenant, but otherwise, and it's anticipated to be spec. And as part of any of those leases, we would be discussing parking needs.
Great. We have a few more questions online. I'm going to go ahead and do a group question right now from Butler Adams. Will the photovoltaic array adjust automatically due to sunlight? Will they also act like solar shades?
The photovoltaic array is not an adjustable one. The pattern that we showed is fixed. Those panels are fixed. And certainly they will provide shading. That's half of their intention. Yes, they are generating energy, but on the backside, they're providing shelter from the sun for the tenants that might have balconies that face out onto it. Certainly at the roof, where there is a tenant amenity on that uppermost occupied floor, they'll be doing the same thing. There'll be a sunscreen there as well. So they're doing double duty.
Great. What's the level of LED certification being aimed for? The LED
Sorry, LEED certification.
yeah.
Right now, the project is not anticipating pursuing LEED certification. As Joy mentioned, we've been using a framework of net zero energy and net zero carbon to drive our design decision making. Obviously, at this early stage of the, oh, sorry. No, that's okay. No, that's fine. So I'm going to repeat it. The question is about LEED certification. Building currently isn't planning to pursue LEED certification. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. We're using the net zero energy and net zero carbon certifications as frameworks for design. At this early stage of the project, we can't guarantee that those are achievable, but we're using those to drive our decision making on building forms and on systems. And those criteria are in excess of what LEED would demand for certifications.
The only thing I would add to that is that LEED certification now also has net zero targets as part of it. And so please keep in mind that a net zero certification actually would be part of LEED as well at a higher level, if that makes sense.
Brian, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say the project as it's envisioned right now is currently in that LEED gold range, though we specifically haven't elected to pursue LEED certification, as Matt mentioned. Project, daylighting, materials, toxicity, all of that is rolled into the design vision for the project. But specific, whether we go and then at what level is to be determined.
Thank you. The next question, what is the goal time date to go before a plan commission, and what is the goal for a groundbreaking date?
So there's no committee on design?
Right. So I guess to talk about that, it came up earlier. So some projects the city asks to go to committee on design. This one they haven't. We have worked very, very closely with them on this design to date and kind of got to a point with them before we scheduled this meeting, with the goal never of showing a project that then changes after a community meeting. So that included a lot of the elements you saw tonight that came directly from discussions with DPD related to the character building. That comes at great expense to preserve that. Like Matt said, I know no one can think that sounded cheap, that process. So instead of going the committee on the design route, we did go through design review with DPD. I think Max Lyon, who is our project manager, is on the line. For the question about plan commission, we don't have a date set. We've, worked very closely with DPD. We'd like to move, as quickly as we can, but we understand, we're in a process. We're still being reviewed by CDOT. We'll of course take into account everything we hear tonight. So we don't have a plan commission date kind of on the books currently.
Fair enough. Are there any questions in person before?
Yeah, I can see a couple hands.
So, notice it's not really in space outside, but for the community, is there any thought on, or was there any thought? You're looking to understand it's a little bit complicated situation in terms of elevation, but is there any consideration for utilizing some of that walkway space?
Were you able to hear that, Carla, or should I repeat? Okay. So the question was about, with community input, there's not a lot of green space around and whether that was taken into consideration. don't know if you want to go to the site plan. I will say that was something we discussed with the city. This is a very small site relative to a lot of them that are kind of being developed in a small building, again, relative to other ones out there. So we worked really closely with them, and we have, engaged with our landscape architect to maximize kind of the public realm of what we are providing on site.
Right. For the reasons that you cited, the slopes in both directions, it really is a challenging site to be able to provide something on site. And so that was something that we took up as a design group, Miller Hall, Omni, and our office. And this idea of simply expanding the sidewalk space and making it as inviting and interactive as possible, essentially making a semi-public space. Yes, it's privately owned, but it's open and accessible to the public at all times, and then landscaped in an interesting way, so that people will want to come in, play chess or checkers on there, or maybe they're shopping, or maybe they're grabbing a bite at the coffee shop. That's really what we're able to do given the constraints of the site.
But it is a private film, so if wrong person plays to they could be as big, so that's always like a concern with kind of private public spaces.
That's
Yeah.
I'll stipulate to that. I don't really know the ins and outs of that, but that's not the intent. The intent is to welcome everybody on, and because of the challenges on the site, this is the way we can actually make a contribution that fits with what's constructed there. Yeah.
So what about bike park?
Sorry, bike parking? Yeah, we have bike parking both on the street. We've got bike racks, as would be, sorry. Oh, I can't zoom. Okay, right here on our ground level plan or our street level plan, we've got bike and scooter parking, so that if you're a tenant, you're able to come onto the property. You would take this back hallway and park here, then come in through security and go up the elevator to your tenant. So we have ample parking. It's in keeping with the values of the project to encourage people to come to the site in other ways, public transportation or other means than a car that requires parking.
Matt, if I may pivot, while we're on the topic of parking and access, there are a few questions. And while you're on this screen, what street will be used to access the parking? Will the loading dock be accessible through the alley on Peoria or Hubbard? And if not Hubbard, what will that alley entrance be primarily used for?
We're in conversation with CDOT regarding this access from, we're not relying on it. Yeah, we do have a public alley that comes down from Peoria to the east. The parking entrance to the garage is right here. This portion of the level 1, the alley level, doesn't have any building on it, and so our loading docks are here. So they would come in off of this 12-foot alley back into loading and leave via that same 12-foot alley. People parking would be able to do the same, in from Peoria, into the garage, parked, and leaving via that 12-foot alley.
Great, thank you. The next question that we have is from Calvin Jin. I live on the 400 North block of May Street. This building looks spectacular. How fast can you build it?
Howard says 12 months. Anyone with a tenant, please.
Great. And then the last comment, or the question rather online, is if you could please cycle through the building rendering slowly so that Moshe can grab screenshots. Thank you. And there is one hand up from a caller online. Can we take that?
Sure.
Okay. Sean?
Yeah, hello. Thank you. First of all, outstanding design. This is an award quality building as you're currently presenting. I really wish other developers and design teams would be as ambitious as this proposal is, as you've currently shown. Question is, that south-facing facade, which again is fabulous, but I've noticed some of these less than vertical facades, such as 1 South Wacker, 500 West Madison, tend to be somewhat problematic with ice accumulating and falling because there's a lot of semi-horizontal surfaces for snow to accumulate, especially on a south facade where you have those temperature variations. Has this been considered into the design? So I noticed you have a brise soleil at the sidewalk there, but have you considered maybe a little bit more robust of a canopy to accommodate for that?
Sean, first, thanks for the compliment. We appreciate that encouragement. Although not designed fully at this stage of the process, that's really the impetus for this brow down at this level, is to be able to catch whatever is not going to melt. This is the south-facing facade. And so we stand our best chance, if we do have some snow accumulation, for that to melt off in a way like every other building in the city does. But on the chance we do wind up with something that's going to have a tendency to sheet down the building, at least on these two places where it's very smooth, that brow, as we move forward with the design, will be designed to take care of that and sort of protect the public way and the people that are in the retail arcade. Does that answer your question fully?
Sure does. Thank you.
Was there a traffic study done? Was CDOT asked for one?
CDOT did not ask for a traffic study for this one, but we do have, we did engage on our own a traffic consultant, Louis Abuna, who's on virtually.
Can you make that part of this presentation study?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have a question, another one, or? Okay.
Katie, I'm sorry, I just want to confirm that I heard correctly, and that was John, I believe, who asked that the traffic study be attached to the presentation. Perhaps it would be suggested that if we collaborate our attendance list, we can email that out if need be, or we can post it on our appropriate websites, however you want to handle it.
It's gonna be rather large.
Yeah, we can work with you and John, and see, did you do a sign in tonight? We usually do.
What?
I was wondering if we had a sign in for in the room. Okay, because WCA I know selected so yeah, we'll coordinate to make sure that gets to, we figure that out.
Yeah.
Carla, any other questions?
No, but just for clarification and just so that we don't get any, we'll try not to lose any communication. Please feel free to reach out to me directly, Carla, CARLA @wcachicago.org to sign up not only for our newsletter, but if you would like a copy of this presentation, I will send it forward to you. That's it. Any other questions? Alderman, do you have any closing remarks? Katie?
I would just pose the question that, is there any reason for this developer not to move forward at this time, but continue moving this forward? Any objections?
Can you speak up, John? I don't know if they heard you.
I would ask that, speak now, forever hold your peace. If there's a reason for this not to move forward, speak now. If not, then we'll ask the developer to continue moving forward. The issue right now that's outstanding would be that parking, figuring out a way to try to get some more parking. Anything else?
Matt, quickly, if we could just cycle through the renderings one more time quickly, please. Thank you so much.
Happy to do it. Okay, this is the first of the renderings. Second. That's the last one.
Thank you so much. Moshe, did you get what you needed? I think so. Okay.
For the record, can you say how many people have been online and registered, and then we'll give how many people are here in the room? Just for,
There are currently 27 attendees online.
okay.
And the last comments from Butler Adams, it seems futuristically sexy from an architectural standpoint, and I like it. And on that note, everyone, thank you all so very much. Alderman Burnett, I'll let you wrap up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Colin. I want to thank both of these organizations for working with me over the years, for all of the development in both of these communities. I really appreciate all of you all's help. And I also want to commend the residents who have attended and who's online for being concerned and giving you input. I did hear about the parking. I do have to get a letter from both of the organizations. Also, I still have to hear from planning in reference to this. And we will continue to have the conversation. As far as I'm concerned, majority of the people are okay, but the parking is still an issue. And I think we still need to talk about that. Also, I did ask about the bike parking. I need to know how many spaces for bikes are going to be, in the facility and for mopeds or whatever they are. I know that the city has this new TOD, and all of us need to be aware of this. With the new TOD, they allow for much less parking, right? And the Department of Planning pushed this, and one of the things that I expressed to them that, you need to give us, especially over here close on Hubbard Street, you need to give us some flexibility just in case the community wants some more, right? So I like to look at that with you all, and outside of that, it seemed like the majority of people are okay with it, but we still going to look at those things and converse about that. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending.